Well, poet Laureate Keorapetse Kgositsile lived in exile in the United States from 1962 until 1975. And it's within this we speak to our guest, Dr Sebiletso Mokone-Matabane, who spent a lot of time with Bra Willie. Professor Kgositsile conducted an extensive study on African American literature and culture, becoming particularly interested in jazz. Well, Dr Sebiletso Mokone-Matabane joins us now to unpack some aspects, or this particular aspect, to Bra Willie's life. Very good morning, men. Welcome to the show.
Good morning.
I want to talk about the first time that you met the late Bra Willie. I mean, what was happening around that time that stuck out in your mind, and how was he at that first encounter?
I first met him at the end of 1965 in New York City. I had just arrived a month before to go to school. It was holiday time. Friends that I had made in that 1 month said, well, let's go to New York because there's nothing happening in upstate New York. I did that, and there was a whole lot of South Africans there from the various parts of the country congregated in New York. And it's usually around that time also that they would have South African Student Association meetings. We went to Willie's place and packed with South Africans, and of course politics was what
at the top of everyone's mind.
Absolutely, absolutely. And not only South African politics, but what was happening in the diaspora, what was happening around us, the rise of the Black Power movement and his role in that. And
so
of
it was
course
these
jazz.
two worlds colliding in American and South African politics.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It was just phenomenal. And as it turns out, we then ended up being very, very close because I then finally married his childhood friend.
Oh.
So they'd known each other in their teenage years, and so he was more than a friend, he was family.
That was quite special.
Yeah,
wow.
quite special.
Now, during that time in the United States, I mean, he wrote extensively on the influence of jazz music on African American culture, and also just in terms of the unity of the African diaspora. Mm-hmm. What was it, do you think, about these subjects that was so close to his heart?
I think it was his love experience in South Africa and his commitment to justice. And his integrity was beyond reproach. He was brutally honest. He loved to read, and not just literature and all of that, but also politics, and make connections, connecting the dots, I suppose, to see what was really happening. And it wasn't just the African American community that was highly involved with him. I just remember a number of occasions when students, especially on campuses, Palestinian students or students from Central and South America, Cuban students, I mean, all congregating there. There were times when we would sit there and talk, and of course with music in the background, until about 4 or 5 in the morning, and I'd say, Willie, nah, I'm tired, I'm going to sleep. And he'd still be there, engaging with these young students. It was just phenomenal to watch.
Wow, that is quite special. I mean, you talk about these talks that would go late or early into the mornings the next day, but what other memories about him stand out for you during that period?
Willie did not suffer fools easily. He was brutally blunt.
Was he ever brutally honest with you?
Oh, yeah.
Well, let us in on that.
He was. I mean, that is who he was. And so don't ask for his opinion if you don't, want an honest answer.
And an educated answer at that, an answer packed with knowledge.
Yes. And it makes you want to think, and oh gosh, I need to go and do some more homework on some of these issues and stuff. And so, yeah.
Wow. A lot of people, we've heard this morning, talk about his humility, talking about his love for people, his love for politics and for unity, the integrity that he had. And for a man so small in stature, what are other attributes or characteristics or character traits that made him this larger-than-life figure?
I think it was his humility and the energy he has. I mean, that, sort of like pint size. He had lots of energy. He would, as I said, about in the wee hours of the morning, we're exhausted, I'm going to sleep. And he's still, at it. I think his commitment to justice, to, peace, his commitment to Africa, African Americans, was just phenomenal. One of the memories I have of him is in the flat in Manhattan, packed with Bo Aikwe, all of the, writers of the day and the politicians and all of that. And so one of the things he had was the ability to bring us all together. And so for some of the writers and poets and musicians of the day, it probably would have been difficult for us as students to really, sit and talk with them.
You speak so fondly, you make me almost want to have existed and been there during those times.
It was just incredible. And so he was able to bring us, the younger South Africans, into his world and make us participate, so that you didn't just become an observer of all these, people. You had to be a part of it.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for sharing just, it's beautiful memories that you've shared, and just speaking so well and fondly of him and the man that he was. He truly was someone special. Thank you very much for your time. Well, Dr. Sebiletso Mokone-Matabane is a former colleague and friend, and also family member of a poet laureate, Professor Kgositsile. Now, the pair spent extensive time together in the US. Bra Willie wrote extensively on the influence of jazz music, on African American culture, and on the unity of the African diaspora during his time in the